Hey, I'm excited to share and welcome you to the investment competition podcast, Trial by Fire. I'm going to take a quick second and explain that I've started a competition with some of the members of my family. The general concept for this competition can be explained as fantasy football for stocks, where we simulate buying $100 worth of a chosen stock and discuss it as though there is no intention of selling it within a 365-day period for the purposes of this podcast and for tracking and scoring, regardless of actual trading activities. Each week, we will pick a new stock and add it to our respective portfolios. And then the participant with the lowest overall performance and weakest portfolio at the end of the 52-week-long competition agrees to walk through fire on top of hot coals, provided I can figure out how to do it in a safe environment. Full disclosure, we don't know what we're doing, and we've agreed to see what we can learn through a trial by fire. Each of us have different levels of knowledge and understanding of stocks and trading, if any at all. This podcast is not investment advice. This podcast is for learning and to document our competition. Opinions are our own and do not represent the opinions of anyone's employer, past, present, or future. Again, we do not know what we are doing, especially me. I am not a professional trader, video editor, or social media manager. So if you have tips or tricks, please share it. With that being said, let's get started. All right. I was on each one of your cases except for Jacob. Jacob is always prompt and on time, and I appreciate that about him. But I was on each one of your cases to send me your stock picks. But none of you know what anybody else has chosen. You guys want to see what you guys all kind of chose here?
Is it unfair that you do know what we all chose?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm built different, so deal with it. So you guys ready to see what everyone else chose here?
Yes. Let's do it.
That's why we're here.
Okay. Let's see if this works. All right.
Ford? You chose Ford?
Am I postponed?
No, I said you chose Ford.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna get into it a little bit here. So up there is everyone's like choices and the information that I'm currently tracking. This is the first week that we're doing this. We're planning on doing this week by week here, and having a different like competitor stock. So my first choice stock here was Ford, with the stock symbol ticker of F. And that was something I kind of like, I don't know or understand yet, but I'm going to look more into. My stock ticker only has one letter. Some of yours have 3 letters, and others of you have 4 letters for stock tickers. I don't know what the difference is or why there's a difference, but I'm going to see if there is an answer to that maybe one day eventually, unless any of you know.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Here's
dude,
a short word.
Dude, it's a good thing I'm not OCD because holy shit, does that bother me?
I mean, you could have put them in order of like smallest ticker to largest ticker, you know.
I went in order of who sent me their stocks.
Oh, so you picked yours first, is what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I got Jacob's, and then David, and then Faith's, and then last was mine. Yeah, I wasn't staying up until midnight waiting, but not too far off. So I picked the Ford stock here because I wanted to get something that I could get. We agreed that the amount for this competition would be $100 worth of a stock. So I wanted to get something where I'd have multiple shares of a stock. I don't know why. I just felt like that's the strategy I wanted to go with. And when I was looking at it on Friday, the price that I got in at like 8 a.m. was $12.36. So getting $100 worth of Ford stock at that price got me 8.09 shares. In that little, snippet of an Excel sheet, it goes to the fourth decimal. And then I was going in here right before, we all hopped on this, meeting, and the current price is $12.28. So I'm already down 65 cents in theory. Thank God this is all paper. We're going to be keeping track of this for a whole year. I think Ford is pretty steady. I don't think it's going to go below $11 at any point. I don't think it's going to go below 12, but I honestly don't know anything. I don't know how much it's going to go as it gets higher in price. I just know that quarterly it does pay dividends. And so if we're counting dividends towards the total return on investment, then I think Ford is a pretty solid choice. It's going to come through for me. Also, I have read somewhere, I don't know how to verify information, that Ford is the only automotive company that has never filed for bankruptcy.
Wild.
They've never filed for bankruptcy, or they've never been bailed out by the government.
They've never filed for bankruptcy. Ford and Tesla, but Tesla has not been around nearly as long as Ford has. And I did try looking into, like, has Ford ever filed bankruptcy, because I wanted to, like, not come in here and just, like, spread a bunch of lies. But again, I don't really know how to verify information. And so everything I found about Ford not filing bankruptcy was, like, contradicting opinions on if they accepted government bailouts. Nothing has been, like, straight, like, oh, we just gave Ford this money so that they don't file bankruptcy. It's always been, well, it's just when Ford needed it that they got awarded a government grant or a government contract. So I don't know how the term bailout is defined. In that case, Ford was bailed out like 3 times in its entire history, but, like, maybe grants and contracts don't count as bailouts. I don't know, but they've never filed bankruptcy, so I like their odds. All right.
Jacob's up next.
Yeah. If we're doing
we're
this in
going in
order of
order of
how I
that?
got the stocks.
Say that again.
Yeah, if we're doing this in the order of how I got the stocks, Jake's up next.
Okay. Well, I chose what does it say there? CVR Energy. I just have it on my list here as CVI because I'm just going to keep track of it by the stock ticker. So basically, this competition has an end goal or an end punishment of the worst performing individual has to walk on hot coals, right?
Yeah, I did not do a great job of explaining that whatsoever.
Fine, which is fine. So
You
that
could
played a
have jumped
huge
in there at any
factor.
point.
That played a huge factor in how I decided to make my decision here and how I'm going to kind of strategize this whole process. If I lose the first couple of weeks, I'm okay with that because my goal here is to rack up as many dividends as possible, kind of like you said there with Ford. And so I did a pretty basic Google search on top performing stocks and their dividend yields and looked for the best percentages. And unfortunately, I found a lot of mortgage companies, but I didn't want to get into that because that's a disgusting territory that I don't want to be in, especially depending on the next few years here. Because it looks like as soon as interest rates go back down, their prices all drop, and that's no good. So I don't want to get on a mortgage company, so I decided to go with this energy company because hopefully in the next couple of years we have some better energy policy in the country. So I jumped on this one mostly because of their earnings track the last 6 quarters. They're either at or above their projected earnings. So I was feeling pretty secure with the dividend yield percentage. And if I did my numbers right, this stock by the end of the competition, the end of the 52 weeks, should give me an additional $12 in additional earnings on top of however the stock itself performs. And that's a minimum baseline. So if the stock goes up in value, minimum of $12 by the end of the competition.
Okay.
So I'm banking on that. In addition to, if the price goes up, that number goes up as well. So, and that's only if I did my math right. I'm not going to have anyone check my math. Just going to keep that to myself. But that's kind of my strategy for this, is try and find something that's going to give me a long-term return rather than a weekly win, because I don't know if there's a consequence for a weekly loss on this so far. So
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to figure something out. Shot. No, I don't know.
we'll see.
All right. So can I ask you like a weird question about like your choice here?
Yeah.
So you have CVR Energy, CTI Energy. CVI is the stock ticker. CVR Energy.
and the CVI is the stock ticker. Yes.
Okay. So you sent that, and you know, I had to fill in some data about it, you know, in my little beautiful tracker right there. But as I was kind of like looking at it, I think I saw that they're based out of Texas, right?
Correct. So they're a U.S. based energy company, which, depending how the next election goes, I'm guessing is going to get a little bit of a boost in the next couple of years here. So
So I'm just curious, why did you go with like a Texas-based energy company and not like a Wisconsin-based energy company?
because they don't drill for oil much in Wisconsin that I know of, and that I don't know of any that are specifically Wisconsin based.
Can
I mean,
you
maybe
name
they
a
would be
Wisconsin-based
completely
energy
oblivious.
company, John?
Well, I mean, I know of a Wisconsin-based energy company, but I don't like. I know that they probably don't drill for oil, or natural gases here. But you pay an electric bill to a Wisconsin-based energy company, and I don't know if it's
Yeah,
the
that's
same
a coal
type.
company.
Huh?
Yeah, their main deal is coal though, not oil.
Yeah. So I just didn't know if you like looked at like We Energies or anything like that, because that's a Wisconsin like utility where I pay for my electric bill here.
I mean, don't I pay them enough? Haven't you seen our bills?
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if
So,
they like brought you back some money?
so in other
No.
words, he probably didn't find like the right price. I'm sure he probably peeked at it, but it was like he wasn't seeing a dividend or a positive out of it.
Did you peek at We Energies or no? You're like,
Not even a little bit. No.
oh, all right.
Wow.
So I'm looking it up right now. Do they even have?
We Energies is a publicly traded company, yes.
Is it WEC? I don't think that's the same thing.
I think it is.
I believe it is. I believe another
it's
company
WEC
already had
Energy,
the
not We Energy.
WE stock ticker before they did.
So just looking at it, briefly here, it's got a much lower dividend yield than the one that I chose. So they're
Okay.
paying their investors less than
Post-research,
the one I
research.
picked. What's that?
Nothing. I said post-research.
Well, no. So like I said, my search or my pick really started on Google. I just searched the highest yielding dividend stocks out there because that's what I wanted to invest in the first couple of weeks, is the highest
Yeah.
potential dividend return. So obviously they didn't make the list because they're at least 6% less than the one I chose. So that's a huge factor, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I gotcha.
Yeah, I wasn't specifically looking for an energy company. I was 100% just looking for high dividends. And then I sorted it out because, like I said, the mortgage rate or mortgage companies or some mortgage trust companies or whatever that are out there. I saw one for PennyMac and there was another one that they just like I don't trust that it's going to stay there. And on top of that, when you go and you look at their earnings in the past, couple of quarters, because that gets posted quarterly, their target is usually higher than their actual, which means they're usually overestimating what they can bring back to their investors. In my opinion, doesn't make it a great choice if you're looking for a long-term, dividend yield.
So
But I
now
thought those were analyst expectations, not the actual company's expectations.
It's one and the same.
you also brought up the fact that you have political aspirations as far as like the next president. Now, what if
Yeah,
what if it
there's
goes
potential
what if
for
it
that.
goes the other way? What if it goes away and a lot of funding is taken and a lot of resources are brought down? So like
We're in
what's your
May
play
right
then?
now. So right now would be, in my opinion, with the current administration, the worst time for energy. The damage has already been done the last
Would you
few years.
would you
So
consider
I'm
like
not going to be
taking it
any
back, and
worse with my pick.
would you consider taking it back after that? Like maybe like investing in like, regenerative resources as far as energy?
No.
No, you'd stay with
The only
that.
regenerative, the only green, energy thing I would consider investing would be like Tesla or something like that, because their goal isn't green. Their goal is to make a decent vehicle. So, and that's later on down the line, I might consider that, but that's nothing. I mean,
Not a lot of good dividend there for you.
no, I'm not looking for windmills. I'm not looking for a solar company. I'm not part of the green stuff. I'm looking to invest and make some money. Those companies get way too many subsidies from the government to actually make any money in the long term.
Yeah.
I don't know. Government subsidy money is still money, so
Yeah, it is. That's how all those recycling companies got built. Oh.
And everyone does a great job recycling now, right?
yeah, we got a whole Earth Day. I think people care for 2 minutes when their kids are in school.
Yeah, and they make their
Awesome.
paper projects and art crafts and stuff out of all of that and throw it the trash.
My son planted a tree last year.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jake. So David, you went in a completely different industry here.
Yeah. So, can you guys still see me?
Nope.
Yeah.
You're there.
I
You
see
can
you.
see me? Okay. I was concerned that the camera went off because I don't see me, but I see you guys. I chose to go with RX. RX is the ticker, and it is called Recursion Pharmaceuticals. Now, I chose them based off of a suggestion from another person. They fall into the pharmaceutical field, which actually means that they are not.
Oh no, you kind of froze it.
You froze for a second there. You said Recursion Pharmaceuticals is in the pharmaceuticals field, which I never would have guessed without you.
It's in the pharmaceutical field, which, if you're used to trading, you'd imagine falls under healthcare. RX does not. It actually falls under consumer goods. They're a new company. They're a biochem company. So they're working on things that are newer in science rather than the old way, testing different bacterias out, seeing how they grow, fighting that bacteria. It's boring stuff, but what they do is they're a clinical stage, so they're using machines to predict the way that different bacteria would grow in order to encourage the production of different the way that we produce like penicillin and stuff like that. They want to predict how we would get the next one.
So
And they're
basically,
using. What's up?
so basically, it sounds like a theoretical science company, a
Yep.
theoretical research company.
They use computers to map out what they assume is going to happen, and then once they find what they're looking for, that this is going to be the moneymaker, they go ahead and they send it to a lab in order to actually produce. It is relatively new. It was founded this year. It was 2023 in April, or 2021. My bad. It was 3 years ago.
Sounds like some millionaire.
So they IPO'd then, or they were founded then?
They were founded then.
Okay.
No, they were IPO'd then. My bad. I should listen to what you say.
Do you know what the difference is?
IPO'd is when they went public in the market.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
That's a good guess.
What do you mean it's a good guess?
Well, you got it. It was a good guess.
So do you know if
Um,
like your RX pharmaceuticals company is profitable?
Just like any pharmaceutical industry, it comes down to them producing a medicine that people want and need and then selling it to the public based on the fact that the public is dying of it. So at this current stage, they're actually not. They opened at like $40 and right now they're sitting at about $9. Most stock trading newsletters actually say that they're in a hold status, so they wouldn't buy it, but they also wouldn't sell it. As far
So
as
you
I
bought
can
it.
tell, what's up?
But you bought it.
Well, I can't hold something I haven't bought, can I?
Just want to
Hold is
hold
one
it.
of those unpredictable areas where, yeah, it could definitely plummet and the company could fold. But being early in the year, I imagine it's worth the risk and taking because it also shows a potential for growth. Yeah.
All right. You feel pretty confident about your choice there?
I am confident choosing it early was the better choice than having it later, where buying it then and possibly seeing a drop before any growth might have been deterring. So getting it now and like Jacob said, getting something that has yield later is important early instead of last minute.
Does this have a dividend yield on it?
This does not have a dividend yield.
So you're just hoping that it does well in the next week and or does well in the next year for the year end, right?
For the year end, yes. I don't expect it to do well for maybe the next 2 months.
And
Some midterm?
what are you basing that off of? You're like, I'm not expecting it to do well in the next 2 months. What are you basing that off of? Did you like look at a graph, a chart?
More like local news. Certain stock newsletters will list out what they think are like up and comers, and the reason they think it's an up and comer potentially is because a lot of the pharmaceutical names are being sued, and this company was the people who worked inside the facility developing different stuff already worked in an area that was profitable but was sued for whatever reason. And then that one got closed out, so they opened up under a new name.
Okay.
Crazy shit.
I just love your optimism in this company I've never heard of. All right, Faith, what do you got for us?
I did Royal Caribbean Group.
Okay, that's like a cruise line, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How's their
So
business doing? I heard they
Sorry,
took a
what?
pretty big deal during COVID.
I couldn't hear you.
I said, how's their business doing? I heard they took a pretty big spill during COVID.
They did. If you look over the last 5 years and over the last year, they did do a couple drastic dips in their stock, but it's slowly on the rise again. Partial of that is they added a new ship to their lineup, Icon, which is the largest cruise ship there is right now. So that's bringing in a ton of revenue. I can't say that word.
Revenue.
To them.
Guys, quit
and
mansplaining.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, guys, quit mansplaining.
And they're also currently, so they have a private island right now called the Perfect Day at Coco Cay. They're also working on opening another private island for their cruise line as well. So they've been in the news and around social media a lot more lately because of Icon being like the new eye in the ocean. And I mostly went with Royal Caribbean because those are more positive things, whereas their biggest competitor, Carnival Cruise Line, has been in the news more so recently for their cruises, like catching on fire and stuff like that due to weather and other circumstances as well.
Okay. All right. So we said that we would only like for the competition and stuff, like we just for like easy tracking numbers, it's like $100 worth of a stock. And then this one, when you looked at it, the price was $141.94, which means you couldn't get a whole share. You got 0.7045 of one share. Did that play any part in your thought process? How do you feel about that?
To be honest, I'm very new to this, so I didn't entirely understand everything going into it, and I still don't. So, biggest part of me joining the podcast was mostly to learn, and while also understanding that I may not be the biggest winner, but hopefully I learned enough to come around to at least beat one of you. So
Yeah, everyone's goal is not to be last.
Correct. But also the biggest thing out of it was to learn more while also being smart with money and investing. So I understand that I didn't get a full share, but if you do look at like the forecasts and stuff, I think I will end up in the positive by the end of the year.
And you think you're going to end up in the positive, like at the year total, because of all the stocks you're going to choose? Because like you think all this one stock is going to go up, or because it pays dividends?
Looking at just the stock specifically, by the year end, I expect to have made more than what I put in.
Okay. So like you put in $100, what do you think you're going to get back?
I guess I don't entirely know. My hope is to even $1 more, but I'm expecting somewhere between $30 to $100.
Okay. All right. So I'm not going to do public math, but yeah, that'd be really good. Do you know if like the Royal Caribbean group, if they pay any type of dividend or anything like that?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
They do not.
No, it says customer services stocks do not always pay a dividend, but as Royal Caribbean Cruise Ltd pays dividends to reward its shareholders.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Does it make you nervous at all when Jacob and I are talking about like, oh, we're hoping we get some type of dividend payments, and you and David are like, nah, we're choosing the shit that doesn't have dividends? Does that?
Well, I don't know what dividends are, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what dividends are either, because what I do know is like if you own part of a stock, at some point the company can I'm not going to say arbitrarily chooses that like, oh, since you own part of the stock, we're going to give you some type of reward, and that's like a dividend like money payment or a dividend stock payment. And like initially when I was like learning about stocks, because I've been messing around with this shit longer than I should have been to know this little about it, but like I thought like stocks only paid dividends if they were being profitable, and I've learned that that's definitely not true. There are many stocks that will like pay dividends even when they're not profitable. So I have no idea what dividends are, other than like sometimes a company decides to pay people who own shares money or additional shares.
Some
Gotcha.
people explain dividends as companies that do like profit sharing. And what profit sharing is like they say, hey, your money was this percent of the company, and we made a profit of X and X amount of dollars. So based on your contribution, allowing us to do our thing, we want to reward you, and we want to encourage other people to invest into us so that we have more money to work with. And we send some of that, a very, very small percentage, to the percentage that you are to them, money back to you. And some of these corporations are that large and produce that much money that they're like, oh yeah, first quarter you're getting back $50, and second quarter we saw a record profit, so you're getting back maybe 100, and then third quarter it's like, well, they took a dip, so you're only going to get 70, and it goes on and on and on.
So I know that they don't pay dividends in that way, but they do in some of the research that I did. So if you are a shareholder in their stocks, if you book a cruise with them, you do get onboard credit with them, and that number's determined not just by how much stock you hold with them, but how many nights you're on their cruise for.
Well, that's a bonus.
That's
Mhm.
kind of a good
Yeah, I didn't even know that like companies did that. Now I have to go look at all these companies to see if there's bonus
So-
rewards here.
I was looking, if you stay 6 to 11 nights, it's $100 on board credit per shareholder. And then 11 to 14 is 200, and then 14 plus is anywhere between 250 plus dollars in onboard credit. And that was just
to be
during
like
initial.
for any type of shareholder, or are there like minimums you have to own like X percentage number of shares?
That I'm still doing some research on. I've looked at a couple articles that say a couple different things. But the most consistent thing that I've seen is that single guest paying 200% of applicable fare receives full onboard credit value. And that's people that own a minimum of 100 shares, it looks like.
Okay.
But that's,
All right.
I mean, full onboard credit value is kind of a lot, so.
So is 100 shares. Like you got in at $141, so 100 shares. I don't do public math, but be $14,000.
It would
Yeah.
be $14,000 roughly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then David, I'm not gonna like. I do want to go back, and I'd like to point out I don't understand stocks, and I know like companies paying dividends because of profit sharing makes sense. I understand that aspect, but I've also seen that dividends can be paid out when there are zero profits and companies are ceasing to exist.
Correct.
What do you mean by that?
I said some people like to explain it the same way that profit sharing works. When it comes to the company being in a negative equity or a negative value, I also don't know how that works, but comfortably, as long as you're making the money that you know that you're making and you're happy with the money that you make from it, do it.
Is the money though from the company itself, or selling off its stocks, or is it the company just liquidating its assets and giving it out as dividends?
Yeah, I have not. I don't know.
I suppose that's something to
I'm
look
sure it
into.
varies company to
See if we can
company.
figure that out next week.
Yeah, but like I said, I just know like sometimes dividends get paid out monetarily or through stocks, and it's not just based off of profit sharing. That's the extent of what I know.
Have to look into it.
Yeah, I guess. So I got to figure out why these stock tickers are different lengths in letters, and I got to figure out what the Fudgeana stock dividends are exactly. All right, but Mike, you're the last one on this list here. You had. Go ahead, Mike.
BKNG, bookings and holdings, booking and
Yeah.
holdings.
Yeah.
I was looking at dividends and all that, and they do pay dividends. It's like 93 cents on like $100 or something like that. It's not huge. It is like 6.23%. I mean, in the long run, it sounds like, but I wasn't focused on that. I was looking for something different. Summer's coming up, so people are going to be booking a lot of trips. And what do they use? They use, Priceline.com. They use, and that's what the original was. It was Priceline.com back in like '97, and they've built
old.
their, huh?
I said, Jesus, you're old. Keep going.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, they built the company up, and they've bought out a lot of different other companies, kayak.com, and they've built the company up. And yeah, it took a hit during COVID, and yeah, it's kind of in a low right now a little bit, but I see a good summer and a good year coming up. And yeah, it's I think
Okay.
it's a.
So
Go
you're
ahead.
saying Booking Holdings, priced right now is $3,700 some odd dollars, right? You didn't
Right.
get close to half of one share. You didn't get
Well,
10% of a share.
I only got $100 to work with. Okay, I mean, but
Yeah, but
like
you're
I said,
saying like this is a low point? $3,700 for one stock is a low point for the company? What's the average? What's the high?
what's the high? I actually I don't. Hang on, you got to give me a second here. I think I did have that.
Can I throw some bad news your way?
Go.
This is
So
the
the
high.
52-week high is $3,918. The
You are
52-week low is $2,456. So you bought it
Yeah.
at 3,700, and its high in the last year was 3,900. It seems like it's already at a high right now. I don't know if it's if it's got room to go higher.
I'm a little bit on the positive side here.
In a 5-year span, this is the highest this stock has ever been valued.
Hang on a second.
I mean, props. They rebounded hard from COVID. Don't get me
They
wrong.
really did. They really did. But I mean, if
but
you look
did
at where
they
they
Or did
were,
they do
I'm
like a
looking at
reverse
May of-
stock split?
I'm looking at May of 2019 here, which was before COVID, and they were at $1,800 a share, and you just bought it at $3,700 a share. So they're doing really well right now, and I don't how much more can they go up?
you know what? I think they're going to do really well. I think they're going to do really well, and yeah, I mean, but
Are you planning on traveling this summer?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I was going to, but I think I might change my plans now.
Wow.
I might
Wow.
book directly with the hotel. I might call the hotel directly.
Right.
All right.
No, I just I got some positive vibes from them, and I really like like it. They are down on their up. They're down on their up, but I think given their assets and everything that they've bought and are buying, I mean they're in everybody. They're in everybody. Kayak.com, they're in Booking, they're in they're all over the place. So I think given their
So I know I just kind of roasted you a little bit there. To be
Yeah.
fair, 65% of the market says it's a current buy. So this is, and then 35% of the market says it's a hold. So nobody's selling this right now. Other people are in your same boat, that they feel the same way, that this is going somewhere. But I don't
They're
know. When
not
I look
sure.
at that
Yeah.
graph, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, good for you. It'll help me win. Don't get me wrong, but
Well, you know what? I could see Michael like doing absolutely no research on the company and just listening to Mike talk about it. He's saying he thinks like summer's going to be a big time for them, and like maybe their share price goes up because like maybe they increase their revenue or their profits or whatever. I could totally see that happening over the summer, but like, what happens over the course of a year?
Right. You know, but I mean, there's
see
just a
some
lot
hot
of
coals in your
factors.
future.
Say it again.
I see some hot coals in your future.
Oh, come on. Look, they were listed as Forbes like one of the world's best employers. You know, they're one of the top companies for women. You know, they have a lot of good other aspects, you know, that I think they can maintain a decent hold, you know.
Good for you.
Okay. All right.
I mean, there was more than just, you know, hey, I have a really good vibe on it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm hoping they hit 4,500.
Big money, big money. All right.
Big money, come on, roll the dice.
All right. I guess that all makes sense. So anyone else got anything else to add?
I don't think we have anything else to add other than, you know, we've got some homework to do on dividends and stock tickers.
Yeah, I'll see what I can dig up and see what more I can bring to the table in getting that kind of looked at. And then I guess we'll meet again next week with new picks, and I'll add it onto the tracker. It looks like I'm gonna have to add a couple of columns here for dividends if and when they're paid out for stocks, and maybe a column for like total return, so it's maybe a little more clear. Jacob's already up like 75 cents. I'm already down 65 cents. David and Faith, like I don't think the price is gonna change because you guys told me, you know, the prices you got in on Friday, and stock markets generally aren't open over the weekend, so I don't think that's gonna change until Monday morning when the markets are open. And I think Michael is probably not going to change ever. I think it's going to be at that number for the next year. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Solid hold.
Solid hold. You know, if you're not losing money, you might be winning this shit. You
Hey,
know.
hey, if they pay dividends quarterly, like I think they do, you know, it's a couple bucks.
Yeah, like 2 cents.
So
All
that
right.
yield is 0.24%. And the way that should work is it's 0.24% of the full price.
So I don't do math in public, but what would that be? That'd be what they pay.
1 cent in 4 years.
So
No.
that'll be, if he owned a full share on a quarterly basis, he'd be looking at about $8.90. If he
For
had
me?
a full share. Times the number of shares he currently has, 0.027, he's looking at about 24 cents a quarter.
No, I think your math is off there.
Listen to this.
I think he's looking at $2. I think you moved the decimal. Just doing mental math here. But
It says Booking and Holdings Inc. (BKNG) pays dividends quarterly. The company's dividend yield is 0.93%, which means that for every
0.24 on the
$100 you have,
looking at.
huh?
okay, so is that the quarterly dividend yield, the annual dividend yield, the total dividend
Hang on a
return?
second. It says, which means that for every $100 invested in the company stock, investors receive 0.93 cents in dividends per year. BKNG also has a payout ratio of 6.23%, which means that 6.23% of the company's earnings are paid out as dividends. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna win the dividends war, but I'm still gonna make a couple pennies. So
Well,
something's
pennies.
better than nothing, huh?
It's all about making the pennies.
Right, right. Hey, pennies add up.
Penny saved
That's
is a penny earned.
Ask the people on the street corner. Don't chuck pennies at them. They don't like that.
All right.
Hey,
Environment. Full disclosure, we don't know what we're doing, and we've agreed to see what we can learn through a trial by fire. Each of us have different levels of knowledge and understanding of stocks and trading, if any at all. This podcast is not investment advice. This podcast is for learning and to document our competition. Opinions are our own and do not represent the opinions of anyone's employer, past, present, or future. Again, we do not know what we are doing, especially me. I am not a professional trader, video editor, or social media manager. So if you have tips or tricks, please share it. If you enjoyed this episode or plan on watching more than one episode, I am asking that you invest in us. Not with money. I'm asking you to invest in us by hitting that like, follow, and share. And despite reading somewhere that you should never read the comment section, I plan to read every comment for this video on YouTube.